we recently surveyed 1,000 insurance customers, 600 consumers, and 400 small businesses to find out what they think about insurance, especially relative to other products and services that they interact with. And we structured the research across, basically really across the high-level journey that a customer has with insurance, starting out with very high-level perceptions of the insurance industry, again, compared to other industries and other businesses. And then we talked specifically with them about products, insurance products, what they thought about them. And they got into the process of researching products with the idea of potentially buying one at some point in the future. And then the actual process of buying and renewing, and then getting service for insurance. And we looked at, from two perspectives, how that looks today in terms of how the current business models work and the perceptions that customers have. But then also in the future, how might things change given new technologies, new competitors, new customer expectations. So to give our customers and our clients a kind of a view of how good things are right now and how they might change in the future. When we got the data back, we decided to approach the analysis by testing assumptions and beliefs or rules of thumb that we've kind of heard throughout the years working in insurance about how we as an industry think customers think about insurance. So it's almost like taking a Mythbusters approach. We generated about 20 different assumptions, and we use the data to test those assumptions and see if they're true or if they really maybe need to be modified for how things really are. So the first assumption that we tested was the idea that insurance companies are easy to do business with. And we looked at that by asking the customers in the survey how easy it was to research products, to buy products, and to get service from insurance, but also from other companies and businesses that they work with. And the data show that the insurance industry really is in fact not very easy to do business with, especially when it comes to researching and buying products. And we did see some improvement when it comes to service, but overall, that assumption that or the rule of thumb that insurance is easy to do business with does not hold up with the data.
What was interesting about the spread on where that differentiation was, it's very different than what we would have expected or what we think the industry thinks in terms of smaller businesses really caring about understanding the intricacies and the complexities of insurance and having a much greater appetite for the level of interaction, and that describes for them the ease of doing business, which would be different in some cases to what we previously thought. So.
Second assumption that we looked at was the idea that insurance companies compete for customers primarily on price. And again, a lot of us were used to seeing commercials talking about getting quotes and saving X%, and not just in the consumer market, but there's considerable thought that price drives commercial insurance as well. So the data supported and shed some new light on that thought as well. Price, we found from the survey data that price is important, but it's not the lowest price that's important. It's a fair price. People want to feel that they're getting something of value, they know what they're getting, and what they're paying is appropriate. And I think there's probably reflects the fact that people are used to maybe getting burned by just getting the cheapest thing that they find, and it ends up not being the best. So they want to have a balance between price and value. So that was a key finding, and along with that, another really important aspect was the ability to get service or to be able to talk with someone, a live person, either over the phone or in person. And I think that speaks to the complexity of insurance as well. It's a very complex product, so people need to know that they can get help to understand it.
So this concept of fair price really is predicated on understanding what the differentiators are, what the complexity are, how to compare, and what makes it fair or not. So that would suggest that there's a lot more research and a lot more information that those consumers are actually looking for, especially in the small, mid-sized business market, that it is not just a pure transaction. And interesting enough, if you think of our clients and the insurance market in general, we've spent a lot of investment in trying to create these channels that make that transaction as quick and painless as possible. And this would suggest that there really is another opportunity to figure out how to engage with those customers. It may be new channels and a feeling of comparative analysis so that fairness can be described in terms of how it compares. It may be really just more depth of understanding of what it is that they're buying and what that does and does not provide, and then they can determine its fairness. So it's an interesting question, and it certainly creates a lot of opportunity to look at how we spend our digital monies in creating that footprint and engaging with those customers. So that's good input into future actions.
The third assumption that we highlighted was the idea that traditional insurance products that have been around basically forever are good enough. They meet all the needs of current customers. And there's really not that much interest in these new coverages that we're reading about and some of these new constructs. So, but the data suggests that really probably is not a good assumption. We asked people about things that they're already doing that have an implication for risks in how the new types of coverages that insurance companies need to think about. And there's already a lot of those activities going on, participation in the sharing economy. And we also asked about things that people would be likely to do in the future if they were offered. And not every one of them was directly related to insurance, but it would have some implication for insurance in terms of the type of coverage or pricing or distribution. And there was quite a bit of interest, surprising level of interest in a lot of these things. We asked about 12 different things, and across most of them, up to 40 to 50% of people said that they would be somewhat interested, either very or somewhat interested, or likely to try these things. But then what was really interesting is when we used a 5-point scale for this, when we looked at the people that gave a 3 rating, which is kind of the people in the middle, they're not really sure, kind of sitting on the fence. When you add them in, the percentage of people that are likely, or at least potentially in the market for these new services and offerings jumped up to like 2/3. I mean, it's pretty significant potential out there. And we like to think of these 3s or these middle of the roaders as kind of like a swing group. And that swing group is especially large in the younger generations,
right.
Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. So that's the next group of insurance customers. So yeah, you need to be aware of that.
Well, I think it speaks to the appetite of the consumers and the small business groups that they have, the appetite they have in trying some new things. And if you look at the swing group, that would say that can turn very, very quickly. So in terms of, we do plan for a change in expectations as we deploy our products and as we advise our clients to say, while today that may not be a need that needs to be met, there is a change in expectations developing. And that swing group would suggest to me that can happen very, very quickly. So I think being prepared for that, planning for it, and understanding how we're positioned for that change is very important to our clients right now.
It depends on how well current companies can appeal to those groups, or the new startups that are offering these new coverages and these new ideas. Can they swing that group into the column of saying, yes, I'm going to try this? So I think it really is something that current insurance companies need to take a look at and be aware of.
One of the things that surprised me, there's some sample data around the importance of the impact of other people recommending the product or the service, and it is amazingly high in priority. Again, that speaks to younger generations being very much used to having a comparative environment to look at products and services, and that type of buying behavior and research and buying behavior is almost an expectation, and that we have to think through how to meet that. So it goes into some of the social environments, and how do we make sure that we are tied into that, so that as consumers go through their decision-making process, or even small businesses go through their decision-making process, we know what they're experiencing, and that matches what our products and services, how they're positioned in the market. Well, to me, as far as the digital strategy, we always talk about the importance of looking outside in. And a survey like this, if you look at this data and the types of surprises that I think we saw, or certainly the strength of interest in certain areas that otherwise I would have expected to be different, speaks to the fact that when we do our digital strategy, we look at our digital strategy, we have to really consider that and make sure that we account for it or understand how we're positioned against it, so that the results are consistent with what we're trying to achieve.
And I would say too that digital strategy applies to the whole value chain. It's not just the upfront sales channel. It's everything. There's the consumers have to research, they have to buy, they have to be able to service not just traditional products, but some of these new ones as well. So I think it's important to look at it holistically when you're thinking digital.